Going through what we went through with my family, it taught me two really important things. The very first one was the importance of money, really not because of its materialistic value, but really what it can do for you in forms of security. And second is how most of us really work hard because we want our family to have a comfortable life. So that's probably one of the biggest reasons why you're here right now with me, because you're trying to figure out, am I doing everything the right way? Because you want to make sure all of your hard-earned money is protected because you want yourself and your family to have a comfortable lifestyle that you're accustomed to during one of the most important phases of your life, which is called the distribution phase of retirement. Now, a little bit about the distribution phase of retirement, because that's going to be our focus tonight. And that's really the biggest specialty of our firm, is focusing on that distribution phase of retirement. Our firm was founded in 2002 by our CEO, Rem Oculey. He created this firm because he has 29 years of experience in the industry. And he wanted a firm that was really focused on that distribution phase of retirement, that was focused on making sure people are not in a cookie cutter way. And that's what he was tired of. Now, in the meantime, for you to understand a little bit about the distribution phase, you really have to understand the three phases to a financial plan. The very first one is called the accumulation phase. The accumulation phase is when you're working really hard, you may even be aggressively investing, and you're building everything up. And then what happens is you get to what's called the preservation phase of retirement. That's about 5 to 10 years away from retirement, where you, in a sense, need to make sure that everything you have built up so far is going to be protected and there for you, because you don't want to go back and restart over again, and then you're going to build on it. Then you get to that distribution phase of retirement. That's when you are retired. Now, all your hard-earned money, in a sense, has to act as your employer for the next 2, 3, 4, hopefully decades of your life. Some people refer to it as permanent unemployment. I like to really look at it as permanent vacation, because I think it's a lot more fun. But that's why the distribution phase is so important. That distribution phase of retirement, how you do anything and everything, from when to turn on Social Security benefits, your pension plan, how to have your sequence of which bucket to turn on from first, the tax strategies that goes into place. All of these together can really work for you and have you have that successful retirement. Or missing one or two elements can actually really not work in your favor and can backfire. Just in 2018, Wall Street Journal came out with a big headline that had said 50% of retirees are expected to run out of money during the next bear market. That's insane. That's a big number that even for us, when we heard it, we thought it was such a huge number, and we were wondering why. And we actually had a meeting with our investment committee to try to explore why we think this is happening. I'll share with you in a little bit our thoughts on it. But that's one of our really core mission as a firm, is we want to make sure that everyone we touch through live events or webinars or California conferences, and just even nationwide, that you don't become part of that statistic, that you are able to understand and learn about the ways and tools that you can protect yourself, to really walk away and be able to understand and be comfortable in a sense of that, okay, I've got this, and now I know the things I need to do, and I'm going to implement it so I can have a successful retirement. So really quickly, I want to share with you how our industry works as well. If you look at quickly this particular slide, it's talking about the 3 levels of service in our industry. The very first level, which is majority of the industry, is what's called the basic level. This means, for example, you're calling Fidelity, you're calling Charles Schwab, you're basically calling to get tips on what are some good stocks, bonds, mutual funds, which is very important, but again, very basic level. So in a sense, if you think of your house, these would be the furniture for your house. Of course, it's important for it to be there, but you got to build the foundation first. Then you're looking at the midpoint. The midpoint is intermediate. So this is, for example, you're calling LPL, Fisher Investments, Morgan Stanley, where they're helping you manage your portfolio based on what's called a fee base, right? They're charging you a fee on your portfolio and managing that based on some of the goals you have shared with them. Then on the very top is where there is a very few of us that are more about advanced planning and holistic planning. Now, let me explain to you why there is not very many in this advanced category. This advanced category normally is what is really there for the ultra wealthy. The ultra wealthy in our country is considered 50 million and above. So a lot of these advanced strategies and holistic plan where they're taking a look at every single thing and making sure the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, is really these ultra wealthy families that are working with either what's called multifamily offices, or they have their own in-house advisor, an attorney, an accountant that's only working on their family. So where we are a little unique is that our CEO decided he wanted to bring these advanced strategies to who needs it the most, not necessarily the ultra wealthy. And that's why there is, again, why a few of us do advanced planning mixed in with holistic planning and investment planning. So let me give you a quick little example of what an advanced planning could mean. So many of you, I'm sure you have set up a trust in place, right? And you set up a trust. Usually if I'm in a live, event, what I do is, have everyone raise their hand. How many of you have set up trust? And majority of people, I would say about 70% of people in the audience will raise their hand. I've set up a trust. And when I ask what's the biggest reasons why you set up the trust, and by the way, I would love to hear your feedbacks throughout this webinar, so you can go ahead and on the very side, you can actually put in and type in the reason you set up your trust, and you can see if it's going to match where we're going with this. So a lot of times people set up their trust because they want to make sure everything is not going to go through probate and it's going to really pass on to their heirs tax efficiently and really in the best way possible, which is great. But again, it's looking at it that you're looking to do this for someone else. There's a reason it's called a living trust. What happens if you live? So let's say now you are in a situation where you're incapacitated and you have to have someone making a decision for you. Let's say it's no longer your spouse. It could be your children that you set in place. So have you really thought about every single thing that that trust would have to make sure you're taken care of the way you intend it to be taken care of? Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. So imagine you set this trust up when your daughter was 24 and you know she's going to go above and beyond to make sure you're taken care of. Now, many, many, many years later, this daughter is married to a husband that you don't necessarily care for too much. You may not even like. And he's sitting there knowing that he and his wife are, in a sense, the beneficiary of this trust. And then all of a sudden, when you need care, they're going to look at what's the cheapest way to take care of mom or dad as opposed to the best way to take care of mom and dad. So why leave that up to chance? A lot of times, these ultra-wealthy families are thinking of all these things. They're writing all these in the trust. So why is the lawyer not really insisting to sit down and make sure these are taken care of sometimes with normal trust? Because most of the time, there's just a power of attorney in there, and then there is a health directive. Well, again, in the same way that there's not that many advisors in the industry that do advanced planning, same thing with lawyers. There's not many of them that do advanced planning. So one of the things we do here with our clients is we make sure that we help them review their trust and that they're not missing these important things that sound like, well, this is simple, but if you go into your trust and look at it, you see most of the time is cookie cutter and you haven't really wrote up exactly what needs to get done at the time of that. Now, another example of advanced tax planning is, so let's say when it comes to taxes, tax planning is one of the most important things you can do. So let me give you an example. A few years ago, there was a building that was sold. It was in Beverly Hills, and it was, I think, sold for over $100 million. And there were a lot of talks about it that the family never paid any taxes on it. How did that happen? How did they get away with it? So it's these legal, loopholes that exist sometimes that the ultra wealthy uses that a lot of, the average industry and average consumers are not going to think about. So let me give you an example of how that can be utilized and actually is legal and can be done for someone who is downsizing in retirement. So had a client, or have a client that 2 years ago was where she started her downsizing phase. 2 years ago, she had a house in Manhattan Beach at that time that she had purchased all those years ago for $80,000. That's right, a whopping $80,000. And then 2 years ago, the house was worth about $3.2 million. Well, she had an empty nest in a sense, and her husband had passed on, and she really wanted to downsize and go live where her family was in Washington and buy a condo for $500,000. But one of the biggest reasons she wasn't selling, what do you think that is? That's right, taxes. She was afraid of the tax consequences. She had maybe spent another $40,000 or $50,000 in upgrades, but that was it. So really, a lot of this was going to be paying, taxes on. So she was very concerned about that. So in a sense, we were able to do exactly what that ultra wealthy family did in that big building purchase, where we were able to help with her, with an advanced team of lawyers, set up an actual structure for her where now that house and that payment gets paid into that structure, and she doesn't have to pay taxes all at once, and it's in a sense gets treated like what a 401k would be treated. The best way I can give you the example is like that, where now you're paying taxes as you're taking money out. And that's what she was able to do. She ended up purchasing her condo within that structure as well, and then ended up basically taking an income and living comfortably for the last couple of years. And when we even forwarded and ran the numbers for her, this was like approximately a good $300,000 to $350,000 of savings that she would have had to pay up front, that it benefited her in her pocket over the long term because she was able to set up this structure in place. So you can see why advanced planning is advanced, because of the fact that they're just not, talked about, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. So I just wanted you to understand a little bit about our firm and our specialties in that distribution phase of retirement, and holistically planning it with these advanced strategies in mind to make sure our clients are taken care of and protected throughout all the years of their retirement.